Okay, welcome to the 2015-16 edition of What is in This Room and What is Not in This Room. We'll get to that later. But we're going to do this kind of in order, and we'll do it kind of quick. First animal we have here is the alligator gar, and as you can see, he's pretty skittish, and he will bite, like the sign says. We feed him goldfish. Just throw goldfish in there, and he'll eventually snap it up. And he's the animal that's been here the very longest. I inherited him from a previous biology teacher that kept him probably for 10 years, and I've had him for at least 10 years. So he's a very old fish, even though he's not very big. And then here we have a little painted turtle. When he came to us, he was about the size of a quarter, or maybe a $50. But that's where he lives. His platform keeps falling down all the time. Oh, and he eats turtle food mainly, but also goldfish and anything we have available to throw in there for him to eat. Then this is our Euromastix, a desert lizard. Got to keep him real warm. This isn't a light here, it's a heating element, so this side of the aquarium is very warm. There's also a heating element in the bottom of the cage. But this guy is, you can see he's got a nice bright pink tongue and really spiny tail. And he's from Egypt. Very cool lizard, if I do say so myself. And then what we have in this aquarium, this is a saltwater aquarium, and as you can see there's a bunch of algae growing in it. It needs to be cleaned out. The water could probably use change too, but what we have in here are some leftover anemones. And I say leftover because we usually get them at the end of towards the end of the year when we're studying the animal kingdom. And usually they don't live very long, but I've been trying to feed them and keep them alive, and they're doing fairly well. They are getting smaller though, and that's what they usually end up doing, is they get smaller and smaller and smaller, no matter how much I try to feed them. And eventually they just waste away to nothing. But they're a very simple animal. Anemone, not your enemy. And then this is a Rittard slider turtle, similar to the painted turtle in that it's an aquatic turtle, but it's a lot bigger, as you can see. And this guy will also bite. I haven't put a sign on the cage or anything, but he will bite also. See, he's trying to bite me right now. If he could reach back and get my thumb, he probably would. So you don't want to really mess with him too much. And then in here we have a box turtle, called a box turtle because it can completely close up, unlike other turtles and tortoises that can't completely close up both the front and the back of their shell. And these guys, they're turtles, but they have a lot of the characteristics of tortoises, and if you don't know the difference, turtles spend more of their time near or in the water, and tortoises spend more of their time away from the water. You can even find tortoises in the desert. You're not going to find turtles in the desert. So that's our box turtle, and his coloration, his face kind of looks like Darth Maul, so we call him Darth. Typically I don't really name a lot of the animals. What we have in here is an African lungfish, a very large African lungfish. And we usually feed him by holding bilgejack dog food and goldfish and whatever we're feeding him right here in the cage or in the aquarium. And he comes up and eats it. So he's very aggressive also, notice. Yes, I bite. So if you hang your fingers in the aquarium, he will come up and bite your finger. And it feels like getting hit with a hammer when he does. So it's not pleasant at all. I highly recommend you not do that. What we have here are two corn snakes. And their name, they came to us, well, no, actually they got named after they came to us. Lily and Snape. This is Snape. Isn't he cute? Snape. The corn snake. And you'll notice his coloration is different from Lily. If I can get Lily. Lily, where'd you go? Come on. This is Lily. She's got the normal coloration for a corn snake. So usually they're red, and they also go by the name red rat snake because they are in that family known as rat snakes. So that's Lily. As you can see, these guys are relatively harmless. They can bite you and will try to bite you sometimes, but usually not. But this other one is a king snake. And king snakes in general are aggressive. And I know that for sure because we have two king snakes. This one, though, is an albino king snake, which makes him unique and interesting. So you'll notice I put a glove on to get him out. And when he came to us, they named him Bisquick because of his coloration. But he didn't even try to bite me, so I really didn't even need this glove. All the snakes ate last week, so they've all been fed relatively recently, so they shouldn't be that aggressive. So that is our albino king snake. I'm kind of going around in order here, not one type of animal at a time, like snakes and the turtles and tortoises and all that. So this is a blue-tongued skink, and you can tell why they call her a blue-tongued skink, because she's got a blue tongue. She's a very nice lizard, a very nice pet. Highly recommend getting one of these if you're looking for a pet. We feed her a variety of vegetables and fruits, but also belljack dog food, which she didn't eat. And actually, let's go ahead. I still need to feed the animals today, but I'm going to go ahead and give this to the lungfish so you can see how quickly he snaps it up. It's already got it. And then he'll go off and chew on it. He'll chew it out and suck it in and chew it out and suck it in. What we have up here are Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and there are a lot of them in this aquarium. I've had this culture, or this colony, for a long time. They just keep breeding and breeding and breeding, and all I do is throw garbage in there, basically. The food that the other animals, the fruits and vegetables they don't eat, go into the cockroach cage. Both this Madagascar hissing cockroach colony, and also we have another colony that we'll get to in a minute. This is a male, and the one I pulled out first was a male too, and you can tell because they have horns. Males have horns and females don't. And I don't know if you can hear it or not, but they're hissing at me a little bit. I'm trying to find a female. That's another male. Females can be larger too. That's another male. Oh well. You can see for yourself when you look at them, because you will look at them. All the animals will be used in an activity that we're going to do towards the beginning of the year here. But you don't need to be afraid of those at all. They can't hurt you. You'll feel that they have like little spikes on their legs to help them hold on to whatever they're climbing on, but those little spikes don't hurt that bad either. And then what we have in this little aquarium is a Necturus, which is an aquatic salamander, which, if you'll notice, looks very similar to the African lungfish. Same kind of coloration. They both have external gills on the sides of their head. The lungfish, though, has internal gills too, like you usually think of when you think of a fish. But this long flattened tail on the Necturus, similar to the long tail of the the lungfish. Then our next animal here is a bearded dragon. You probably have seen these in pet stores. If you go to pet stores at all, you might know somebody who has one, or you might have one yourself because they're very popular in the pet trade. This guy came to us last year and he's done very well. He's still nice and fat and eats like a pig, but he has to stay very warm because he also comes from warmest parts of Australia. That's a bearded dragon. Then we have two of these. I'm just going to show you one, but in both this blue top cage and this pink top cage, we have tarantulas. And these are rose-haired tarantulas, called so because they have reddish hair. I should have turned the light on. And this is a rather docile species. They don't have a tendency to bite. That's why they're sold in the pet trade. If you're brave enough, you may decide to hold one. We just throw crickets in there now and then. That's what they eat. We've also got leftover from last year, and I say that because I order these every year, and they end up dying too, similar to the anemones. This is a millipede, and it's a fairly good sized millipedes, because the millipedes we have around here are only about, I don't know, an inch, maybe 2 inches long at the most. They're very, very small. You turn over a rock and you find them under rocks. This millipede's larger, and I can order even larger ones. Tropical millipedes can be about, I don't know, 5 times as big as that. Then in this aquarium we've got a Russian tortoise. We have 3 different, and you can see there are fruit flies in here too because they hang around for the fruits and vegetables. But we have 3 different kinds of tortoises. We've got this Russian tortoise, and then we also have a leopard tortoise and a sulcata tortoise. And the leopard tortoise and sulcata tortoise are at my house. So that's when I say I want to show you what's in this room and what's not in this room. What's not in this room are those 2 tortoises, leopard tortoise and sulcata tortoise. But I'll probably continue this video at home and show you the pen that I made for them at home and that they've been living with this summer. But again, this is a Russian tortoise, and he stayed here because he's smaller and easier to keep. Kind of similar to the box turtle, except the box turtle eats meat, and tortoises in general only eat fruits and vegetables. What we have here is a ball python, and this cage is really hard to open. And just coincidentally, this morning, well, he was donated by a teacher, an elementary teacher, and she stopped in this morning to see him, to visit him. A ball python, and they call them ball pythons because they typically ball up. They like to coil up in a ball and stay in a ball. They're more comfortable that way, I guess. And as you can tell from a lot of these cages, they need cleaned out. We haven't had zoology club. That's what we usually do in zoology clubs, clean out cages, and we need to do some of that right at the beginning of the year here. Next to the ball python, we've got a Schneider skink, and I've had this Schneider skink for a long time. It started out being my daughter's pet, and we kept him at home for, I don't know, maybe a year. And then she decided she didn't want him anymore, so I brought him. And that's where we get all of our animals, you know. They just come from people who don't want them anymore, and they donate them to the zoology club. Here's our other colony of roaches, and this colony is kept specifically for feeding the other animals, the animals that eat meat and insects. So these little guys are called dubia roaches. When they become mature, they have wings, whereas the immature ones don't. And this colony started out, I just got one population. I think there were 200 in that initial population, and they've just been breeding ever since. And we feed them to the other animals. Likewise, here we have goldfish. You can barely see any of the goldfish in here right now because they're not gold, for one thing. But they are in here. Actually, I might as well take this one over and feed the gar. Maybe you can see that on camera here. Sometimes it takes a while, especially when they're not gold. They're hard to see, but throw them in there and see if the gar gets them. Here he comes. Oop, you missed. Well, nope, missed again. He got him. One gulp, and he's gone. Alright, back up here to the other snakes that we have. This is a common Colombian boa constrictor. We have to keep these screws in the snake cages so that we can make sure they don't get out, because we've had escapes. I don't know how many escapes I've had since I've been here, but it's quite a few. Yeah, he's not aggressive, so I'm not going to worry about putting the glove on. So here he is. He's the largest common Colombian boa that we have. We have two more. Isn't he pretty? And I've had a number of common Colombian boas over the years. My first reptile was a common Colombian boa, and I had her for 23 years. I got her when she was 6 weeks old down in Florida, and to the dismay of my mother, brought her home, and she died just a few years ago here in the classroom. She lived in this cage here. I'm just going to go around. They're the same kind of snakes, so I'm just going to go around and show you that we have this other cage that has two more common Colombian boas. There they are. They tend to hang out together, and again, they've been fed recently, so they're laying on their heating pad at the moment. Then over here we've got two other species of snakes. Well, I showed you the albino kingsnake, the albino kingsnake, and this one is not an albino, but like the other one, can be aggressive, so I'm going to put a glove on. No, looks like he's not going to bite. That's good. But you can see the coloration is totally different. And there are different subspecies of kingsnakes too. So I believe the albino is a California kingsnake. I was told that this is a California king too, but its coloration seems to be different than the kind of California kingsnake that I think the albino one is. And somehow we ended up with a lot of snakes. Didn't used to keep this many snakes. Now we got all kinds of snakes. Over here we have a milk snake, and the milk snake is not aggressive at all. So I'm going to take the glove off. And as you can see, her color is beautiful, bright red and black and kind of tan. And there's a limerick, because this snake looks very similar to a very poisonous snake called a coral snake. And the limerick is, red on black venom lack, red on yellow kill a fellow. So you can see that the red here is on the black stripe. If it was on the what I called tan earlier, or the yellow stripe, then this would be a coral snake, and you wouldn't want to mess with it because it could kill you. Very beautiful. She was lost last year. You may have even seen video of it if you got wind that happened last year. There's video of myself and Mr. Susel, the Latin teacher, trying to get her out of a vent from the ceiling down in the auditorium atrium. Last but not least, for now anyway, until I go home and show you the sulcata tortoise and the leopard tortoise, is Jabba. This is Jabba. Jabba the green iguana. This is the second iguana that we've had. We had one previously called Spanky, and Spanky became mean after a while and started biting people. But Jabba's never tried to bite anybody, so that's great. She's doing great. She's eating great. She's not real friendly, though. If you try to pet her, she'll run away, typically. See, that's a very defensive position. In general, reptiles don't care about being petted, so. And she'll close her eyes. If you really harass her, she'll close her eyes and really bug her. And that's called zoning. So if you're ever petting an iguana and they close their eyes, they don't close their eyes because they love what you're doing. They close their eyes because you're harassing them and they're like pretending like they're not there. Alright, so that's everything for now. I hope you've enjoyed this tour. Here I am at home. I just got off my bike and I've got a bag of food, leftover food. Well, it's not really leftover. I make enough to be able to bring home and give to the tortoises too, because they eat mostly grass, but they need some supplemental nutrition besides grass. So this is the pen that I made for them at the end of the last school year to be able to move them here to my house. And as you can see, they've eaten the grass down to the soil in some places, and it's been a real dry summer. I've been trying to water this grass to make it keep growing so they'd have plenty to eat. It's still long through here, so they still have plenty of grass to eat. Look at the piles of poo. I mean, you can tell a lot from poo. One of the things is the health of the animal and how much they're eating and how often they're eating, and very obviously Darwin at least is eating a lot. So this is Darwin, our sulcata tortoise, and he's 19 years old, and he was donated. There's a woman who substitutes in our building, and she donated him. And it's the same with Honu here. This is Honu. Honu's all closed up though. And it could be because Darwin's been harassing him. Darwin tends to chase him around and bully him, so to speak. Picking up some pieces of plastic here. I don't even know where this stuff came from, but... And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Honu the first shot at the food, because, like I said, Darwin's been a big bully. And so I'm going to move him up here. There, he's coming out a little bit. So I'm going to put the pile of food right in front of him. And Honu, again, is a leopard tortoise. Both of them come from Africa. Darwin hangs out in sub-Saharan Africa, so just under the Sahara Desert. So like I said, tortoises can live in deserts, whereas turtles tend to be in or near water. And it's the same with Honu. He's used to wandering around the savannas of Africa. There's a nice pile of food for him. So, and I noticed in the video that I made in the classroom that, especially for the bugs, I didn't have my hand up high enough so you could see them. But I'm not going to reshoot the video. I just wanted to introduce you to the kind of animals we had. And that's about it.